What's happening, everybody? MG here, MGCovers, bringing you a brand new sports handicapping video. Title of this video is How the Sportsbooks Crushed the General Public for Week 1 of the NFL season. Very insightful video. If you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, you've already seen sort of a preview of this. Before we dive into the video, don't forget, as always, if you like this video, provides you a lot of value, greatly appreciate the like. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you get a ton of content about sports betting and not just a lot of promos. I talk about the unadulterated truth about this business, good and the bad. You'll see it all here on the channel. If you want to follow me on social media, MGCovers, covers spelled with the Z. Like I said earlier, I give out a ton of information there for free. So you get a lot of value simply following me on Instagram and Twitter. Let's dive into this video. The sports books absolutely destroyed. There was a couple quotes I had. If you follow me on Twitter, I've already posted it. A lot of times these sports books sort of remain anonymous. There's a guy from ESPN, my buddy David, that reports has some inside information, but they had a huge day, and we're going to talk about why that is. First and foremost, here is the deal. Let's talk about the premise of sports handicapping. And if you follow me for a length of time, you already know this. There are two parts to handicapping for sports handicapping. There's two parts. We have 50% of it is objective. And what I mean by that, objective is that's your stat model. What is a stat model? A stat model is an average of recent stats. And from those stats, we generate our spread for those teams or our line. We do not use year to date. Well, that's 50% of it. The other half is what I call the subjective side of handicapping. That includes more of situational angles like coaching, QB play, home and away records. There may be some stats, but a lot of it is, the majority of it is subjective to a degree. So the problem and the reason the sports books destroyed the general public week 1, there are no stats. There are no recent stats that you can use. So for the most part, everybody, myself included, if you wagered week 1, which I didn't, all you're doing is just guessing. It's a complete guess. So if you're guessing who has the advantage, the sports books have a huge advantage. Now, let me go ahead and address this because you may see people boasting. I've already had 2 or 3 clients email me, oh, I had a great day, I went 3-0, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, bro, at the end of the day, you're still guessing because you don't have any statistical data, recent data. The last NFL regular season game is what, the end of December? You can't really use those stats, different team. And even if you did use data from last year, it's old data. These teams haven't played in, since December. What's that? 9 months. So there's really no data. You can't use preseason. It's not really legit data per se. So you can't use. So if there's a pie of handicapping, 50% of it is the objective side, and the other 50% is subjective. You're only handicapping 50% of the pie. It's almost impossible to be good at it because you just you have no statistical data. That's why me personally, I don't wager NFL until teams have played 3 games so that we have some data to go by. Now, there's one specific type of wager that I will place. If you're a client, you should know that already. If not, shoot me a DM email. I'll tell you what that is. I will place that type of wager. But as far as like a straight up, I will wait until we have 3 weeks of data. And let's talk about something else that makes it extremely difficult to handicap. Now, bias is, I'm going to talk about line bias. And what a line bias is, let's say for a sport where I have a statistical model where we've already had some, for baseball, we use the previous 10 games. Well, if you see the sportsbook line, you can immediately look to what I look at as my lines. Let's say if a line is, say, minus 110, I look at my sportsbook line, and my line for that team is minus 150. Well, I can immediately see that I have value. Well, the problem with NFL, there's no stat model. So you're going to be influenced by that line. And what I mean by that, let's scroll down here. Let's take a look at one specific game. Okay, let's just go ahead and look at the first game of the season. It was Dallas, Tampa Bay. I made a video about this. I had a lean towards Tampa Bay, didn't personally play them. In Tampa Bay, yeah, they had some turnovers, but when you look at that, the line was -8.5. It went to -9, 9.5. Some books had it at -10. You are influenced by that line because when you see -9, you're thinking, wow, Tampa's going to should blow Dallas out, right? It did not happen at all. And we had question marks about Dak, how he would perform coming off an injury. He had a phenomenal game, one of his best games in a long, long time. Unpredictable. There's no way to predict that because we don't have any data from him since his injury. That's what makes it difficult. And again, because of the line bias, it's hard not to be influenced by that line. So what happens to the sports books, what they do, this is a very important lesson, and this happens in all sports. The public is not competing. The sports book, what they want to do is they want to balance the action more or less. That's part of the motivation, but they don't have liability on either side. But they do know that the majority of people that place wager will play favorites. So what happens is they will shade the line. And the word that I like to use for that is inflate, which means where a game should probably be -6 or so, they may inflate it to -8.5 because they know that the majority of people are going to play those favorites. So where is the value? The value is on the other side. And this is a statistical fact. Underdogs in NFL cover 52% of the time. I'm going to repeat that. Underdogs cover 52% of the time. So if all you played was favorites, I mean, statistically speaking, you only have about a 48% chance of cashing. So, and if you are going to play underdogs, I made a video about this a week ago. One secret is instead of taking the points, play that team on the money line. If you go to my Twitter account right now, you'll see a post I made where I go through every single team, every single game, and show what would happen if you played every single team on the money line. But when we go through these games, what I want to do is show you how difficult this is to situationally handicap. And I'm not going to go through exactly everything that I do when I'm situationally handicapping, which is the quote subjective side, but just take a quick peek at this. So you see, we've already talked about the Dallas-Tampa Bay game. Pittsburgh-Buffalo, when you see Pittsburgh Buffalo -6.5, there's bias factored in. You say, why is Buffalo favored in this game? It's hard not to be influenced by that. Jets-Carolina, that was really, that line was probably pretty accurate there. Jets came from behind. How about Jacksonville-Houston? Who had Houston scoring 37 points? Who had Trevor Lawrence throwing 3 interceptions in his debut? Maybe some did. Any case, Jacksonville was favorite and they lost. Arizona, another crazy game. Who had Arizona scoring 38 points on the road? Tennessee only scoring 13 with Tannehill. A really good offensive team. Chargers, my Redskins, this is another one. Everybody going into the season thought, hey, Redskins are probably have maybe the best defense in NFL. Hubert absolutely destroyed them yesterday. Rookie coach, a rookie offensive coordinator, and underdog won there. And that's my point, is that perception is, hey, Washington's going to be a really good defensive football team. We don't know until they actually play the game. So again, without any data, that's very difficult to predict. Here's a crazy one. Philadelphia, 32 points against Atlanta. Atlanta only scoring 6 points. Who had Philadelphia scoring 32 points yesterday? Nobody. Nobody. Seattle, 28-16. That was sort of predictable in a way. Russell Wilson, you had a good head coach, a good quarterback, Carson Wentz in his debut with Indianapolis. Minnesota, Cincinnati, underdog won there. San Francisco, Detroit. Detroit had a backdoor cover there. Cleveland, Kansas City, we knew that one would be close. Miami, New England, it was a toss-up basically. Miami came out ahead on that one. Green Bay, New Orleans. Who had Aaron Rodgers absolutely flopping in his first game against New Orleans? New Orleans only scoring 3 points. Who had Jameson Winston? Did he throw 5 touchdown passes? Was that correct? And, of course, the Rams blew out Chicago last night. Some predictability there. But the point I'm making in all this is that it's without any statistical data, it's extremely difficult to handicap. And not only for NFL, this is true for any sport. So the beginning of college basketball season, the beginning of Major League Baseball season, even if you're not a client of mine, the best thing to do, not wager early on, get a gauge for those teams, how they're going to perform. And what I do is for football, I'll wait until I have 3 weeks of data, and then I will compile my power rankings. And if you want access to those power rankings for NFL, it's $49.95 per month. That gives you access to power rankings for soccer, power rankings for college football, and power rankings for NFL, which will be released again probably the Monday night after the third game. And you also get access to all my coaching videos. If you want access to all of that, in addition to all my plays for all sports, $99 a month. Gives you access to everything on the site, and if you join for a year, that is $4.99. You save about $600. So again, just a quick review here. I would not recommend wagering on NFL first. I mean, you could wager maybe that third week because at least you'll have 2 games, but from a professional's perspective, I wouldn't wager until you have at least 3 weeks of data. Same with any sport. And because what you saw last week, sportsbooks will absolutely destroy the public. It's hard to predict what's going to happen if you don't have any statistical data on that team, any recent data. Extremely difficult to do. Hopefully this video helps, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.